As John mentioned, we had been in, I call them discussions about doing a Creative Mornings talk for a while, but it was really him asking and me saying no. But and it went on for like a year, and he's a swell guy, and I love Tina, and she's been really good to me, so I had to reward the persistence, and so here I am. But it wasn't just really that I was scared shitless to talk in front of people, but also I wasn't sure what value I could offer in a talk like this. Because the question that I get asked most often is how to become a working photographer. And I have no clue how to become a working photographer. I know that seems crazy because I am a working photographer, but I started out like over 20 years ago, and it was a very different time, and I'm sure you all know that photography has completely transformed in the last 20 years. So, and I still think every job is my last job, and I'm just so grateful that I'm still working. So that topic was out. And John and I had actually hung out socially a few times, and it doesn't take long to get to know my personality when you hang out with me. And he said he observed I had this ability to make shit happen. There it is. And I really liked this topic a lot because I know that about myself, and people who know me, they also know this about myself. And I liked the idea of exploring this part of myself because I'm usually not a fearless person. On the fear spectrum, I absolutely fall on the fearful side. So it was a kind of a cool thing I thought I could explore in myself. But also just quickly, I'm gonna for those of you who don't know anything about me, I just wanna give you a quick background. I'm gonna take a deep breath here. I think that for people that do know about me, it's usually by way of my company, the Animal Print Shop. I have this online shop, and I sell prints from my animal series, and I'm gonna get into the animal series a little more in a bit here. But one thing that people who are familiar with the Animal Print Shop might not know about me is that I am a commercial photographer. I did it, okay. I am and still have been a commercial photographer for a very long time. I shoot for ad agencies and design firms and in-house agencies and everything. I do print ads and campaigns and turn into billboards. This is a dog's rule pedigree. I do cat food, print, I do a lot of packaging, the typical stuff in store. This is the Target. I don't know if you can see back there, but when they did Liberty in London, and it sold out in like 5 minutes. I'd got nothing, no perks. And sometimes I allow people into the equation as well. But I've been making my living this way now for like 12 or 13 years. I've been taking pictures for 22 years, and I floundered a lot just trying to figure out what subject I could connect to so that I could keep my love of photography alive. I started off doing like the prerequisites, weddings and headshots, and it really made me hate photography. So animals connected me in a way that, and I was in the right place at the right time. There weren't a lot of people doing animals, in 1997. So, I mean, now there's like tons. So I was in the right place at the right time, and I got a book published. A lot of people ask me how I got into shooting animals, and I don't shoot them, I photograph them. Let's just be clear. So yeah, I was in the right place at the right time. And it's crazy to think that that was 20 years ago, and I still feel like I'm 16, so it's weird, but I've been at this for a while. And one of the things that I think is really important, I'm a big fan, is personal work. I think that working photographers really benefit from doing personal work. First of all, clients love personal work. And second, gotta look at my notes, getting sidetracked. It keeps the spark alive. When I first picked up a camera when I was 16, I felt alive sort of for the first time in my life. And I just wanted to eat and breathe and sleep photography. It was a mad love affair, really. And once it became my job and I was pushing paper, my personal work really helped reconnect me to that feeling of it being new and fresh. So I started photographing this series about 10 years ago, and I didn't really do anything with it. I may have talked to some galleries and I may have been rejected, maybe. So I shelved it for kind of a long time until 2008 when I discovered Etsy. I did a Google image search to try to find a logo for Etsy for this keynote, and all the Etsy images came up, and it sort of mimicked my enthusiasm for Etsy when I first discovered it. So I took a screen grab. So this is me saying to you, like, Etsy is just fucking amazing. If you would have told me 20 years ago there's gonna be this online marketplace that connects artists to buyers, I just never, I would have been like, you're insane. Like, what are you talking about? And it just presents this incredible opportunity for artists to make things happen, to make shit happen, that's my topic, on their own. You don't have to rely on gallery representation, which we all know is very difficult, or getting a show at a coffee shop. You can set up this shop and there's this built-in infrastructure. So naturally, I had to have an Etsy shop. I was like, I gotta do this. My career was going, but that was okay because every job's my last job. And I'm all about a backup plan. So I was just, for like 6 months, I was racking my brain. Like, I'm not a crafter and I'm not a maker and I can't make jewelry and I pretty much suck at all that. And like, what can I do? What can I do? I need to have an Etsy shop. And then like 6 months later, I was like, yeah, duh. I have this animal series just collecting cobwebs. So I thought, I could maybe sell prints from this animal series. So I kind of wiped off the cobwebs, and like within 3 days, I had my Etsy shop set up. It was real exciting. And unlike the galleries, people really responded to the prints. And I got a lot of blog love, and they were selling. And I quickly realized that this was perhaps a viable business for me. And since I'm also business-minded, it was good. I actually started playing Office when I was 6, which was 10 years before I even picked up a camera. And I took Office very seriously. I had my own cubicle at my parents' office, and I clocked in on the time machine, and I had like a calculator and receipts, and I didn't want anybody to fuck with me for like hours. I was very busy. So I busted out my business hat, and I put in the time and the work, and I added some animals, and I grew the Etsy shop. And then in 2010, sadly I outgrew the Etsy infrastructure. I think it's better now. I think they've improved this site, but the volume I was doing, it was really hard to keep track, and I was disappointing my customers because it was just really hard to maintain it in the way that their infrastructure was set up then. So I had my own e-commerce site built, the slide that I showed you earlier, and the animal print shop was born. And we offer, I think there's like 140 different animal images now, and it's a second full-time job for me, and it's a full-time job for the people that help me run it. So that's my story. And next, this is what we're going to talk about. Several years ago, one other time I did a talk. I talked to some aspiring photographers. They asked me to come. They wanted a working photographer to come talk to the aspiring photographers. it wasn't like this. It wasn't conversational. They just said, come in and show. It was like a beefed up version of the advertising work I showed you guys. It was like basically my resume of every job and every client I worked for. And at the end, they opened it up for a Q&A. And this guy, he raised his hand, and I could tell right away that he was not down with me. He did not like me, which was cool because I don't expect everybody to like me. I'm okay with that. But I was so curious, like, what did I do to this dude? Like, I got to find out, right? So I was like, sir, your question? And he's like filled with pissing and vinegar, and he gets up with his microphone, and he's like, I'm going to pretend this microphone. He's like, seems like you've such a charmed career. Haven't you had any like stumbling blocks? And I was like, oh, I'm such an asshole. Can I get a do-over? Do-over on this whole talk. So I just want to say for the record, the answer to his question, if he's here, that would be awesome, is yes. I have failed. I have had epic failures. I'm going to continue to fail. I am okay with that. And there's pretty much nothing I've done right without doing it wrong first. And I'm not afraid to fail, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. And I think failure is necessary for success, and I really respect that process. So while we're on the topic of failure, I figured that would be a good topic to wrap this up with. And when I was putting together this talk, I tried to figure out how it is that I can be fearless, that I can not be afraid to fail when I'm so fucked up with all the other issues that most artists are wrought with. I have all the insecurities and self-doubt and fear of judgment, and the list goes on and on. So I really wanted to see if I can understand this ability that I have to not be afraid to fail. So, of course, I decided to look into my childhood. That's me. And I like this picture because it sums up what I'm about to talk about. I'm off to the side, as you can see. So first of all, I was really born with an independent personality. It was just sort of innate in me. When I was little, I just didn't want anybody to mess with me. I was one of those kids, I'm sure you know those kids, maybe some of you have those kids, where I was like, just don't touch me, don't tell me what to do, don't tell me what to wear, just get away from me. I was a nightmare for my parents. And number two is my parents had a very hands-off style of parenting. My brother and I, nothing was expected of us, really. Just don't end up in jail and all is good. There were no academic expectations. We didn't have curfews. There was no pressure to pursue anything we didn't want to do. We were active. We did soccer, softball, gymnastics. But the minute that I didn't want to do it anymore, I just said to my parents, yeah, I'm over it. And they were like, okay. When my friends certainly didn't have that, it was like, oh, I can't come over, piano lessons. I didn't have that because I just didn't have to do it. So I realized that, and I actually think that if I had the type of parents who actually had expectations of their children or put pressures on them, I don't really know that I would have this ability to be fearless. So I'm actually pretty grateful to my parents for that. Perhaps my upbringing mixed with my innate independence allowed me to pursue my dreams without, the voices in my head getting in the way, creating stumbling blocks and fear. And I had confidence in my free will. And ultimately, I think I figured out that my need for independence and my free will turned into survival mode, really. And I learned that my ability to make shit happen was just a byproduct of that survival mode. And when I get to the end of my life, I don't think I'm gonna say, I wish I made more money, or I wish that I sold more prints. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna say, I hope that I lived life the way I wanted to live it. So thank you so much to John and Tina and all of you for allowing me the opportunity to learn something new about myself here today. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you all. Thanks, John, for having me. It's really an honor to be here in front of you all. My dad is here from Minnesota, which is nice. He's one of the best public speakers ever, so I have a little bit of pressure on me right now. But he also told me to speak as if I'm speaking to my sister, but she knows this whole story, so I can't really speak like I'm speaking to my sister because it would just be a moot point. But I have the girls who work for me here, so thanks, girls, for coming, all the support that you give me. As John said, I'm a bag designer, and that's what my bio says. It says also in the bio that I've had my company since 2008. And while I technically have had the company since 2008, it also says on my marriage certificate, which was in 2002, that I'm a bag designer. So that just goes to show you that it's been a long time coming. It's been a dream, it's been in the works for a long time. It's hard to give yourself a title when it's your own profession that you're kind of inventing, because you feel like at any day, I'm sure you all know this, at any day as it could be over. You have to go back to your other job, you have to do something else. This career that you've built for yourself is done. So it's hard to call yourself something when you've invented it yourself, but at this point I'm going to call myself a bag designer, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I got here. And I think in thinking about this talk, what I came back to was that it all came back to community for me, because over the years of trying to do this project of mine, I had a lot of stumbling blocks, a lot of starts and fits and starts and things, and it wasn't until I kind of fell into the right community of people that the career kept going, and day after day I could keep doing the same thing that I wanted to do. So it kind of is all fuzzy and the dates are all weird, but basically it goes that I grew up in Minnesota and I went to San Francisco for college, and then I went to Paris around 1995. And in 1995 I met my husband in Paris, who's a French guy, and we came back to live in the States together. When we came back to the States, I started working with him in French television. I was then a journalist with him for French television. And the reason that this is relevant to me is because it was then that I learned that you couldn't travel in style as a working woman with a laptop. There were no cute bags out there. It was either a black nylon bag or something really businessy, like red leather, sophisticated business lady type bag. And I thought, I'm not carrying either one of these. These are terrible. So I knew how to sew, and I was always interested in fashion. So I made my own bag. I made my own laptop bag, and I was really excited because I thought, this is potentially huge. There's no market for this right now. It was at a time when Apple was really exploding, and even Apple didn't have cute bags, and I thought, I could do this. I could work in fashion, which is what I always wanted to do, and fill this hole in the market. And so I made my own laptop bag, and I sold a few to my friends, and then I decided that it really was an idea worth pursuing, so I sought out production here in Los Angeles, and I created a very complicated bag that came out very, very expensive. It was really cute, but very expensive. And I took it around to a few shops like Fred Siegel and other LA boutiques, and they were like, this is really nice, but we can't sell this bag. It's too expensive. Who are you? I didn't have a name for myself. Why would Fred Siegel sell a $600 bag by someone named Clare Vivier? And then that hadn't even occurred to me, and I thought, oh, yeah, why would they sell a bag like Clare Vivier for $600? And then a few things happened in life. Like I got married, and then I had a kid, and I became a stay-at-home mom for a couple years, which was amazing, and a really nice opportunity. And it's this whole thing about women is that when you have kids, what happens? Do you stay home? Do you get a nanny? Well, I stayed home, and I dropped everything. And I'm really happy that I did. But after a few years, I needed to go back to work, and I really just still had this desire to do this bag company. I thought, there's still that thing. There's still that hole in the market, and I could still create really cute things for stylish women, working women. And so I swallowed my pride and went back to that factory, because it's kind of hard to, once you've left something, you feel kind of like a failure. You're like, hi, it's me. Remember I made bags a few years ago? Can we do that again, please? But this time, I had to create a new equation, because I knew what my mistake was before. So if I want to produce in the US, and I want to use good materials, I have to make a very simple design, because the first two are very costly in and of themselves. So to reduce costs, you have to create a very simple design, at least to get your production costs down. So I went back to them with some new designs, and we made those, and they were a lot more cost effective. And my very first store, it came back to my community, because my very first account was Mohawk General Store. And they were just down the street from my house. And I went to them with my clutches, which are very similar to these clutches that are here today. They were very similar to that, and then I also had the laptop-sized clutch, and I went to them, and they said, these are great, I'll sell them. And then from there, Japanese stores went in, and I got a few Japanese accounts, and I got a few press clippings, and I got a few things that started from there, but, oops, sorry. But at the same time, I was always working other jobs. I was not a bag designer. I had to do other things. One of the things that I did was I worked as a prop stylist for the Viceroy Hotels, and Kelly Wurtzler was the creative director at that time of the Viceroy Hotel. So this was a really great education in creating desire in a photograph, because that's what she did so well, was that making things look very, very attractive and making people want to buy them. And that's what I had to learn at that point, because I had this little line, it was going, certainly couldn't quit any other job at that point, but I had to figure out how I was going to make these bags desirable, how I was going to get people to buy them. So at that point, I started a blog, and I decided it seems like so long ago, because blogs are so different now, but back then, which I don't even know how many years ago it was now, we had a much better opportunity to get a lot of followers on our blog, and to just get people interested in what you were doing. And I decided this is what I was going to do. I had a small bag line. I was married to a French guy. I had a son. We took a lot of French holidays. And I thought, I'm just going to show this to the world. And of course, there were a lot of things that I didn't show to the world, but I was going to create this brand through my blog, and that would be my only form of marketing. I didn't have money for any other type of marketing, so growing the business step by step by myself, the blog was going to be the way that I did it. I had the good fortune of falling into a really great community of other bloggers at this time, which was extremely important. And they're here, Heather Taylor and Gina Sohn and Amelia Morris, and a bunch of girls, we all had blogs, and we would get together and we would have dinner parties, and then we would blog about them the next day, and we would talk about fodder for our blogs, and we would talk about the crazy readers we had on our blogs, and we were just building something, but we were all working in our own things, but we were all trying to market ourselves through our blogs, and it was working because through this community we were getting more and more readers, because whoever read Gina would read mine, whoever read Heather's would read Amelia's, and there were a lot of people, and there are a lot of LA bloggers now still part of this community who I'm not naming, but it was very important that I had this community that built this readership on my blog. Also, a really important thing in how I realized that the online was really changing things and changing the way retail worked and the fashion world worked, was that I found one skin of a very beautiful vegetable tanned leather at a defunct accessory designer's warehouse, and I bought that one skin because I loved it, and I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's so gorgeous, I have to get it. And so I brought it home and just stared at it for a while and folded it in different ways and figured out that what design I had to do with it, something very simple but desirable. And I sewed it up myself, and I made my first bag, which is called now La Tropézienne. And I photographed it and put it on my blog under the headline, I've got your summer tote. And all the girls in my community blogged about it and reblogged it and talked about the fact that I had this really cute tote for sale. It's called Tropézienne tote. And I knew that if I went back to that accessories designer, I could buy out her stock of leather, but I could only get about 29 bags out of that leather. But that's what I did. And it became wildfire, and I thought, it was like, email me if you want this bag. And those 29 bags sold out in one day. And I was like, oh, wow, look at that. 29 bags sold out in one day. And then my husband had the good idea that he was like, well, maybe you should find that leather again. And I was like, oh, you're right, I should find that leather again. So I did find the leather, and we still use that leather, and it's still one of our best-selling bags. But that was such an amazing experience of how I didn't need a store. It's kind of like she was saying about Etsy. Like I didn't need a store. I didn't need the approval of a magazine or anything like that. I just needed a good photograph, and for other people to want it, to desire it, and for that to spread. And so that's what happened. And at this time, it just turned out to be a really good time for me because there was the economic downturn. Sorry, that was supposed to be a joke. And people weren't buying maybe luxury items the way that they were before. So I thought very consciously, I have to create something that feels luxury, but it doesn't have a luxury price. So I had to fall in between this category of very inexpensive things, bags sold at Urban Outfitters for $30, and it's a bag, it's a receptacle, you carry things in it. It's just, a lot of people buy their bags there. And the luxury market of the Pradas and the Gucci's and all that stuff that is also very desirable. That's kind of what I did. I kind of fell into this category of affordable luxe, and I really tried hard to push the fact that we were made in the USA and that we were made using very good raw materials, and that's what we continue to do. We've continued to grow the company through much less through my blog because I have much less time now, but I have a social media person who does it full time now on our Tumblr blog, and she keeps a very active Pinterest page, and we're very committed to continuing with all of our social media because this is how I formed my company. I formed my company through social media, and in this new economy of everything being online and creating desire online, that's what we've done. So we're very invested in keeping that active, but also just showing the inner workings of my company. A lot of people come up to me and say, I'm so excited for you. I've been reading your blog for so long, and I've seen you grow. I've seen you, shipping packages out of your house, and now you're in a studio, and it's like, I follow you on Instagram, and they think it's very, very exciting, and I think that's been one of my strengths, is that I've been able to keep a personal touch with the consumers, and it's been very important. I don't know what I wanted to say, but I feel like that's been one of the strengths of the company, is that people feel like they know me and they are on my side and they're rooting for this small company to work, and it's been wonderful. As we continue to grow, it's been a real education, because you get to the point where you realize you don't know what you're doing sometimes. I'm basically a designer. I went to school to be a writer. I'm a creative person. I'm not a business person. But as the company grows, sales are growing, and it's a financial thing is happening, and you have to take responsibility for it. About a year and a half, Jocelyn was my first employee, and she's been with me for 3 years. And about a year and a half ago, we had, together with one other girl, Mathilde, we had 50 store accounts. And we went to Stephen Allen showroom, and we said, we've got 50 store accounts. Do you want to represent us? And they said, yes, we want to represent you. And they have grown the company exponentially in the last year and a half. So now we have about 200 store accounts. We opened up our first standalone store in Silver Lake in June. And we had gross sales last year over $1 million, which was a big deal for me, because I thought, wow, this is big, $1 million. But you get to the point where I didn't really know what I was doing. I did. I could have continued it a few more years, but we were approached by financial partners, and I thought, and I liked them a lot. I met with them for a long time, and we had spent a long time working on a deal, and we finally took financial partners. And the reason I'm telling you this is because, as a creative person, I feel like we might not be the best business people, and it's important to know your strengths and to know when you can get the help that you need, because you want to keep doing what you love. That's what I want. I want to keep doing what I love. I want to keep employing more and more people in Los Angeles. I want to keep employing the girls that I do employ, and create a good life for them, which means having health care for them and having decent wages and things for our workers. So taking the financial partners at that point seemed like it would make a lot of sense, and it has so far. Let's see. I also wanted to say that let's see, how do I say this? It used to be just me that would fail and that would go down if the business failed, and maybe Jocelyn too. But Jocelyn kind of knew that as my first employee, the risk that she was taking to come work for me. But now we have 12 full-time employees at the studio, and we have 3 factories that we have got running full-time. And we've got these financial partners. And now I feel like while it's great, I feel like there's even more pressure not to fail, because I don't want to take anyone else down with me. So fortunately, all these people that we have with us are also building us up, and they're making success more feasible than before. So I think that's it. So now I say that I'm a bag designer, but I take it day by day, and I take nothing for granted. And it's been by the grace of the community around me that I've been able to experience this success. So thank you for listening to me, and thanks, John, for having me. Oh, I have pictures. That's me and Oscar. The reason I'm showing you this is because these are images from my blog, and these are just what I did. I just posted pictures of our life. There's leather back in the studio. That's the first trope. That was the first trope. That was the very first trope when I sewed that myself and said, I've got your summer trope. That's me, because it was just about showing your life and showing interest in fashion. That was my very first trunk show I did at Heather's Gallery. I don't think you guys probably have to get to work and everything, but they're just images from the blog, and it's.
Any ideas?
That's Jocelyn on the floor of my home office when we worked out of my house, packing bags. We used to take pictures of all the big orders we used to send out every time we sent out a big order because it was such a big deal. So that's in my living room, boxes that were probably going to Japan. I photographed everything, so this is a little photo shoot I did in my living room of that mini sack bag. Another one. These were just gifts I got in Paris, outfits. But these are basically just lifestyle pictures, and I'm just showing you these because I feel like this is how I built the brand. This is creating images that expressed who we were and trying to elicit some kind of desire and making people want to buy this brand who they didn't have to buy. This is from Gina Sohn's blog, and this image single-handedly has sold, I don't know, it's our best-selling bag probably because of Gina Sohn, and this is the Blue Pebble. We've sold so many of this bag because of this image. This is works in progress. That's Mathilde. She was like the second employee, and that's her sister. And I've always been about photographing girls with the bags and putting that on the blog. That's an example of a studio inside the studio. These striped bags have done really well. This was our invitation to our opening of our store on Sunset Boulevard. We printed it on a clutch and then sent it out to people. There's the store. And that's it.